proceed because it contradicts Article 104 Clause 1, which says that the only time you cannot recall an MP is when the term of parliament has expired.
Yeah, maybe we can have 6 and Daniel Omtata before you drop. Let's see what question they have their hands up, and then Harriet. 6, Karibu.
Chege, how are you?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
I'm fine. Where is Omtata? You know, my questions want to go to Omtata directly because
Omtata
he
is
is my
on. His
my
account was hacked, but
I
he's still
changed
here.
my gadget because I've been flooded with phone calls and all that.
Okay, so Omtata, as my senator,
Yes.
hello, as my senator, I have a problem with
Yes.
the current governor, who is Otuoma. Busia County
Yes.
government has become one of the most tribalistic governments in Kenya, whereby youths cannot get jobs if they don't come from Busia County and they have not been born in Busia. If you go there, your name is not Wabuire, your name is not among those natives in Busia, you are not going to be given jobs. And those jobs are being offered to Mtuetu. I've sent there a lot of youths to get jobs, but they don't get jobs because of these things. As the current senator of Busia County, how are you dealing with this matter? Secondly, Busia County is the most underdeveloped country in this country. There is a county in the country. There is this stage in Busia where Mombasa Hotel is currently located. That stage has not been renovated for ages. Water in the middle of a town. You look the other area behind Sofia, Uganda, where the county looks pathetic. The other road going to St. Matthias, also the same. Busia town is not even good for tourists to go there. Yet we know it's a county close to the border which can be very productive in terms of tourism. Kindly, as the current senator, what are you doing to rectify these things in the country? Thirdly, what is ailing this country is recycling of leaders, and this has been affecting us since time immemorial. Leaders who've been in government since 1988 are still going for seats. What should we do going forward in regards to that? Then I'll ask my next question if you answer that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, a small clarification. I am a senator of the Republic of Kenya elected by the people of Busia. I can go to Nyeri and ask questions. I can go to Kisumu and ask questions. That's my mandate. But I have a special allegiance to Busia in the sense of having been the electoral unit. And what you say is true. And in terms of tribalism, you have not even scratched the surface. You saw the recent demolishing of kiosks. And there was an attempt that the kiosks should be allocated only to Luyas and to the Luyas of Busia and the Tesos. I'm having litigation in court over that issue because I believe that Busia belongs to all Kenyans. Eldoret does not belong to Kalenjins. Kisumu does not belong to Luos. Mombasa does not belong to the Swahili. Mandera does not belong to Somalis. All these places belong to Kenyans. And employment in county governments, the only limitation, there are two limitations. One, 30% of the jobs must be reserved for non-locals. And then the cost, the expenditure on employment should not be more than 35% of the budget of the county. Those are the only restrictions and the clarifications. So it is totally wrong in terms of employment coming from only from indigenous and whatever. Now, as regards those things, there are questions I raised with the governor, and I've gone as far as opening litigation against the governor because they have denied me access to documents. You even remember last time they hired good hooligans to attack me. and they stoned my vehicle and whatever. So I went to court to demand that we have open government in Busia. Documents must be disclosed as the law requires. The matter went to court, and the judge in Busia certified the matter as raising fundamental questions of law or substantive questions of law that is required to be determined by a bench of 3 or more judges. So the file was sent to the Chief Justice. We have a bench of judges so that we can then litigate the question we are raising, the tribalism, the denial of documents, the denial of business space to Kikuyus, to Somalis, to Lus, to other tribes, within itself, clanism, and things that are important and are going to be dealt with. So the only thing I'm doing is litigation. The other day, last week, I even had to file another case again against the governor and his team, and I've stopped the grabbing of the polytechnic land, the grabbing of the ATC land, and a very dubious mechanism, the eviction of traders from Sokoposta, the eviction of traders from Malaba, and all those kind of things. And all these things are being done to fill the tribal agenda of the need that our people, that the locals have no chance in, they do not control these businesses. Me, I believe that we are Kenyans, and we are nothing else but Kenyans. And every space of this country belongs to every country. Like after the Gen Z demos, you saw somebody mobilize. I saw somebody talk of Jeshi la Kienyeji in Eldoret, marching and talking about their own county. That thing is wrong. Eldoret does not belong to Kalenjins. No space of this country belongs to any tribe. The Eldoret belongs to Kenya. It's a part of the territory of Kenya. And if you look at Article 4, 3, and 4, you'll find that the Constitution says that if you want to change the territory of Kenya, you must do a referendum. We need to make a referendum if the governor of Busia thinks that Busia should not serve all Kenyans. We need a referendum to allow him to do that. If the people in Eldoret think that Eldoret does not belong to all Kenyans, we need a referendum to do that, or any part of this country. So, it is not correct what is happening in Busia, and that must be fought. Number two, the questions of infrastructure. Infrastructure in Busia is dilapidated and
We seem to be losing.
Is he breaking again?
Yeah, he is.
Can you hear me now?
You're breaking, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, you're back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
I've moved the phone. So what I'm saying, the infrastructure in Busia is in a bad state. A lot of the public spaces have been grabbed that are in private hands. Even that bus stage we are talking of is owned by some business. The hospital land, as you say, those roads, the hospital road as you go down towards the Catholic Mission, on the right hand, all that land is hospital land. Even some of the buildings there are government building numbers, but have all been privatized. They were given out. So this is the ground we have to fight and get all these things back.
Sir, you're really having bad interruption. We can't. You're not even completing sentences.
So, no.
Guys, can you hear him? Check it. You can hear him.
Wamemfikia on the other line.
Ni kama wamekufikia Okiya, just mute yourself for now. maybe let us hear
Okay.
two more questions.
Ngoja pate network is
You should
hamalizi.
remove his other
Because I can
account.
also hardly hear you. Okay, let me.
Don't remove him.
Afro kama Omtata ako Busia, internet ya Busia inakuanga wak. Pale ukienda hata huwezi fanya kazi. In fact, Busia doesn't have Wi-Fi or nothing. It is among the worst places you can wish to go and live. I've been raised in Busia. I've lived in Busia almost 28 years. And Busia honestly inani disappoint mimi as a person who was born and raised there. I'm disappointed even to say I come from that county. We have escaped to stay in Nairobi because our county is very
6,000.
corrupt.
Okay, six umeongea. Even me, let me take this space. As mimi ni mzaliwa pia wa Busia County, especially hapo kutoka hapo Mundika. Na hii issue ya Busia inatuhusu sisi wote wazaliwa wa huko. Kwanza nimeona seneta wangu super senator Okiya Omtata hapa akipeana mambo ya sheria, na nampongeza kwanza. Mimi mwenyewe nilikuwa mpiga kura mwenye nimpigia kura nikiamini kazi yenye angetufanyia, na kisheria amefanya vizuri. Na sasa challenge yangu kwa Okiya Omtata kama mzaliwa wa Mundika anajua vizuri sana hii Senator.
Yes.
Unaongea hapa na Daniel ni mzaliwa wa Mundika hapo.
Yes.
Lakini saa hii niko Mombasa.
Yes.
Na mambo kwanza nilikuwa na swali tatu. Swali la kwanza lilikuwa linahusiana na mambo ya kisheria kidogo, na ambayo ilikuwa inahusiana na ilikuwa High Court ruling about police using excess force on peaceful protesters, about pia use of tear gas na water cannon like bullet, rubber bullet. Hiyo ruling ilikuwa imefanywa na tukaona hiyo tu siku yenyewe tulikuwa maandamano pia ilitumika, iliendelea. Sasa kama nyinyi wenye mmekuwa katika hii sheria, step gani yenye mtachukua kuhakikisha kwamba hii ruling haiendi tu in vain? Hii ruling inatumika na inakuwa sheria, ili wale peaceful and armed civilians wakiandamana, kazi ya polisi iwe tu kuangalia ule mwenye atatoka kwa line. Na nikirudi kwa county ya Busia, nimeona mismanagement ya resources zetu zikiwa mbaya sana. Na ile kitu moja yenye tulifanya mzuri ni kuanza kuangalia vision ya mtu kama leader. Tumekuwa tukipiga kura kulingana na huyu amesimama mrengo gani, na hiyo pia imetuponza kama wenyeji wa Busia. Saa hii kama area zetu ambazo nasikia 6 pia anaongea hapa mambo ambayo ni muhimu. Unapata internet, mimi nitadaumu internet, area zetu internet iko low. Ya Uganda imeinterfere sana, unapata kidogo tu simu imekutupa Uganda. Hata ukitaka kumake call uko Uganda tayari. Sasa unapata interference ya network iko juu. Mahali pa tribalism na nepotism imekuwa juu sana. Unapata kama ukitaka kazi, 6 ameongelea about lazima mtu aite Wabwire. Yes, but I'm Wabwire. Hii haimaanishi kwamba lazima nitapata kazi nikiingia kwa Busia, ofisi yote ya Busia. Busia mtu anapeanga kazi kulingana na wewe unajua nani. Ukipata mkubwa pale ako pala na kuangalia wewe ni wa nani. Kwenu mnakaa aje? Lakini kuna wale wenye wako chini pale, mtu amesoma, mimi najua wengi sana, lakini kupata ile nafasi hata kuwork tu kwa hiyo county government ni noma sana. Na ufisadi imekuwa hali ya juu. Sasa seneta wangu,
yes,
nataka wewe pia utueleze step gani zenye mnafanya kudeal na hii mambo, ili sisi wenyeji wa Busia pia turidhike na nyinyi. Na mambo ya maandamano sisi tunataka tuendelee kama vile tumekuwa tukifanya, kwa sababu only sauti yenye Ruto anasikia tu ni street peke yake, na tuongee sauti moja. Ile ya tribal line tunakataa. we are tribalists kila mahali. Chukua nafasi Senator.
Thank you, Dan. Senator, if you don't mind, I'd like to give maybe Harriet and Eric so that we hear more questions, then you answer, so that, because there's a lot of requests also to speak.
Okay.
Harriet, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chege, for this opportunity, and Afro for this. After yesterday's meeting, you saw my bill, my petition. That's why yeah, I'll follow you guys back. Thank you. I requested, and I'm doing so. After this, I'm also following back. So in this space, we are over 6,000. In fact, we are heading to 7K, and we are almost passing. I would like you guys, I have the petition pinned on my profile. So my kind of request or concern, just request, a polite request, goes to Senator, that I started a petition last year on Change.org, addressing the Kenyan Parliament, especially the Committee on Health, to fast track the discussions on obstetric violence in Kenya. Kenya, we don't have a national policy on OBV. Obstetric violence is the malpractices that happen in the maternal wing that leads to maternal deaths, leads to people having long-term complications and so on, divorces and so on and so on. So this petition has been addressed, Senator Okiya, have never been discussed. It has been tabled by Honorable Gadoni. And Mark you, we did a survey earlier this year just to provide the raw and unfiltered data from survivors. We are even going to meet some of them towards the end of this week, those from Nairobi, because we conducted in 27 counties. BBC saw our findings. They called us, we aired. Voice of America noticed, and it caught the attentions. Last week when I was in the street, Forbes Africa, it caught the attention of Forbes Africa, and I was also quoted after our win, after the president dropped down, or rather, let me just say, send back the finance bill to the parliament, because I don't trust he has rejected. I don't trust because of that 14-day factor. So you can imagine, it's there in the Voice of America, it's on Forbes Africa, it's on BBC. BBC went there live, but still, the parliamentarians have not even sat to discuss it. They have not even addressed it. It's OBV 2023, but Finance Bill 2024 has been discussed. So it was my polite request, Senator Okiya. We started yesterday sourcing for signatures. It's pinned on my profile kindly. For those of us in here, we are 6,000. If you just drop your sign, if it reaches even 5K, we can go with the placards during the Occupy Ministry of Health Affairs Center, so that they know we have the grievances addressing them that needs their urgent attention, because this is a matter of life and death, and it's happening every day. I don't blame the doctors, I don't blame the nurses. Their grievances have been ignored. That's why when these women go to these hospitals, they are not getting treated, they're being ignored, or rather these doctors are now on the streets also demanding for their rights, are now leading to this kind of violence. So my polite request, Senator Okiya, you have been so vocal. You have been so vocal, and you are on our list of one of our decision makers together with the Kenya Human Rights Commission. I'm kindly requesting you to help me take this petition, so that when things are now already levelized and the parliament is in session right now, you can also help us now get it to the reading, so that the world can know actually Gen Z did their part. Kindly, that was my request, Senator Okiya. Thank you.
Thank you, Harriet. What I would also request to you is just post it in the timeline for this chat, this space, so that many of us can just retweet. Eric, you had your hand up. Do you still have a question for Senator Okiya?
Yes, I have. Yes, thank you very much. I have three very brief questions for the senator. And the first question is as regards the right of recall and Article 104 that he discussed earlier. And I was listening to him, and I actually agree with him on a number of things. But I would like to request the good senator to speak about this right of recall in light of the decision in petition 209 of 2016. That is the Katiba Institute versus the Attorney General and the Parliament. When you look at Article 104, it only empowers Parliament to legislate on the grounds and the procedure.
Is anyone speaking?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, Eric is speaking. Just mute yourself. Eric is speaking.
Yes, so I was requesting the senator to speak to that right of recall in light of the decision in petition 209 of 2016, Katiba Institute, and another was the Attorney General and the National Parliament.
And Eric,
Article 104 empowers...
Sorry to interrupt you. I've just seen you're a lawyer, so please help us unpack, because many of us here are not lawyers, so we in a way that tutaweza kuelewa hiyo swali.
Yes, ndio nakuja hapo. I want to state the citation of the decision and then just briefly explain what it said. So the citation is Katiba Institute versus the Attorney General and the National Parliament. And Article 104 inasema Parliament inaweza legislate on this right of recall with regard only to the grounds and the procedure. Ukiangalia 104.1 inasema a member of Parliament may be recalled anytime. But this judgment went ahead and said, it imposed those limitations. It has to be at least 2 years after the election, and not in the last 12 months of the election. And these are things that are debatable, because when you look at what the judge said, the judge was raising practical considerations in that petition. Alikuwa anasema elections are an expensive affair. And that was one of the reasons why they were saying that you need to give this person 2 years first to gauge. But the Constitution and Article 104.1 says anytime. That judgment also affirmed that imposition by Parliament. You can only recall your member of Parliament once, or you can attempt that recall once. If it fails, you are stuck with that person. From where I sit, that sounds very unconstitutional, because it's like if you fail in a recall, now this guy has a carte blanche to do whatever he wants, afterwards, without any option of being recalled. So I'll just like for the senator to briefly speak on that decision. I don't know if he was part of it, if he was part of the case. My second question to the good senator is this conflict of interest bill. There is so much going on about it, and there is so much noise and heat from all corners. A lot of blame game, especially between the EACC and your colleague Senator Ledama Olekina. What happened? Was the bill mutilated at the Senate? And if that happened, who mutilated the bill? And my final question to Super Senator Okiya Omtata, as one of the few leaders trusted by the people of my generation, you have had calls. People are asking for you to run for the highest office. If we demand that you do, are you going to run for president with our support? Thank you.
Yes, can I respond, or is there other questions?
No, tumemaliza wale walikuwa wameweka mkono juu mapema, so go ahead please.
Okay, I'll begin. The list, I've got 11 issues to respond to. So, first of all, I say that the issue of infrastructure Busia is in a mess, but we're trying to recall it back by, first of all, trying to reclaim the spaces. I'm litigating several various cases. There's even in the Malaba market, the public market in Malaba. Somebody has claimed it and even evicted the traders, and now a private person is charging money for it. I've done a lot of research. I've been able to establish that the market was indeed bought from the husband of this woman, and he was fully paid for the money by the county council. And she's coming back on a claim that has got no basis. She sort of went through a magistrate's court and got orders, but the record is there, it's very clear. There had even been a high court decision on it, and so you wonder how a magistrate's decision could override a decision of the Environment and Land Court. So I've put together a paper trail that I now want to use to reclaim the market in Malaba and restore the traders there. and grabbing of land in Busia, and even there's no. First of all, Busia County does not have what we would call an inventory of its assets, so it doesn't know what it owns. Even the other time, just next to my home, I was shocked when somebody who had bought some land there, the man who used to work there, he's from Kisumu. He called me and said, "I'm selling 8 acres of land. Would you be interested or get me a buyer?" I asked him, "Where is the land?" He said, "The land, the 8 acres is what remained from the 40 acres I sold to the county in 1976. And I said, "In my village, is there land that belongs to the county of Busia?" He said, "Yes, and this is the title deed number because I even processed the title deed." I went to the registry of lands to check, and I was shocked to find the title deed is there for 41 acres of land that was just about a kilometer away from my home that belongs to the county government of Busia. But if somebody else is using it for farming sugarcane, just say the only lucky thing that the local people in Busia don't know how to steal land. So the documents have not been interfered with, but it had been occupied by somebody else. I went and gave the documents to the governor. He's taken action, and they've fenced off the land. I've evicted whoever was occupying it. So there's a lot of confusion in that county. So if land that belongs to the county, 40 acres, not 10 acres or 1 acre or whatever, is just a kilometer from my home. I'm the senator and I don't know. What are we dealing with? The mess in Busia is too big. So away from that, we need to recover these lands. I'm litigating the airstrip. That's 30 acres in the heart of Busia, grabbed by people. And that grabbing was even validated by parliament. I've had to go and look for the history of this land from 1952, looking at the old people used to keep documents. They never had tweets. So they used to write down in black books. I've been able to reconstruct the history of the airstrip, which has been in operation from 1952, being grabbed in 1963, in 1986. That's when the title deeds were issued to private people. We have been caught. We have had injunctory orders. Busia had 3 airstrips during the colonial time. Up to 1977, Busia had 3 airstrips. Today we have got 0. We don't have an airstrip. So that's the mess that is in Busia, and it really needs a systemic engagement. And that's why when you ask for documents and you are denied, then there's something is being hidden. Can you imagine a senator being stoned because he wants to look at the government, the documents of the government, the county government? Can you imagine I have to go to court to demand that the governor gives me his expenditure record so I can see whether the budget has been implemented according to what is on paper? These are the kind of things we have, the kind of problems we have in Busia. And it's a complete mess. But I think the first thing for me as a senator for Busia is not to have a knee-jerk reaction to this, is to investigate and establish, go back to the ground and see what it is. When I was doing my research for the case on the airstrip, the maps in Kakamega do not show an airstrip in Busia town. I had to go to Survey of Kenya to get the original maps to be able to demonstrate to court that there was an airstrip in Busia which covered 30 acres. But if you go to Kakamega, the maps don't show there was the Busia town ever had an airstrip. So that's how deep the mess is. But that was being, I think, once we deal with that, it will be the only unfortunate thing that we have got a county government which is very, very transactional, extremely transactional and not transformative in any way. And they have got a lot of vested interest in whatever they do. And I think today, if you asked them to account even for one project that I've done for the 3 budgets that are now implementing the 3rd budget, you will not be able to be shown anything. But that problem is not unique to Busia. I went to Northeastern and it's even worse. All these gorofas, you are claiming that Somalis are buying gorofas in town and whatever. Most of that money, I'm not saying all, most of that money is money devolved to these Northeastern areas with the hardships that they have, and they have with the extra parks that go there. It all finds itself back to Nairobi, buying properties. So the mechanism of the devolved government is one that needs to be looked at keenly to make sure that accountability mechanisms are there, the necessary transparent issues are there, and the governance, there are mechanisms of dealing with the governance. Because even if you look at this thing called the impeachment is only allows MCAs. The ordinary people have got no way of dealing with the governor.
Senator,
if you are an aggrieved member of Busia, like my brothers here are, there's nothing they can do. They cannot go and, under the laws that have been put there, they can only persuade their MCAs to maybe to try and impeach the governor. But if the MCAs are in the pocket of the governor, you get nowhere. And in fact, MCAs use the impeachment procedure to extort money from governors. There was a case of a governor who told me that one time MCAs wanted to go on a tour. An MCAs in Western is a governor in Western. And so they asked him for money. And he said they cannot approve this trip because it cannot be justified. So they went to Kisumu caucus and called the speaker and said, the speaker, can you draw up a motion to impeach the governor so that we can deal with we can negotiate and get our pact. Then the speaker said, I cannot see any grounds for impeaching the governor. So they turned around on the speaker and said, okay, you don't want to impeach the governor, we shall impeach you, get the speaker who listens to us, then impeach the governor. So the governor and the speaker had to acquiesce to what they demanded, and the guys went to Dubai. So with this kind of mechanisms, we really need to look at the architecture, the design of the county government to see that it is accountable and it serves purpose. But that does not mean that devolution has failed. Devolution is the only way you could create a ceasefire in this country to stop domination and exploitation by those people who capture the state and then hide behind their tribes and claim that they're acting in the name of their tribes. At least 15% of the resources of the government automatically go to the ground, then they will assuage that pressure, and that one helps. So let us support the devolution, but let us engage with the policy and legal framework to ensure that we come up with something that can ensure that the devolution delivers for the local people and for the republic. Number two, the question of recycling leaders. Recycling leaders, have to go back to the question of the architecture of our elections, beginning with the political party. Right now, political parties are personality cults run by dominant individuals. If you took the requirements for forming a party in Britain, the United Kingdom, and the requirements for forming a party in Kenya, you won't believe it. The same MPs passed a law that totally blocks people, and it was validated by the High Court in the name of having a national character. So you're required to have 1,000 people in at least 24 counties. You're required to have functional offices in at least 24 counties. So you require when you need 1,000 people, it means then you have to do some magic. You have to play around, you have to do whatever. To run 24 offices, even if you put each officer 10,000 shillings a month, say 3,000 paying for a shop, and then maybe another 7,000 having a security guard and a receptionist. So 10,000 times 24 is 240,000 shillings. How many ordinary Kenyans can afford that monthly? Nobody. So people can have access to money, and mostly less money, who can form political parties. When I was constrained to form the National Reconstruction Alliance Party, I had to do trickster deals. I had to go to the student body. I got students to be members. I got students to be officials. I got students to register their homes as party officers. Otherwise, you can't. So that architecture whereby only the rich can form political parties and therefore create personality cults is at the root of our problems. Then you come from there, you move to the voting itself, the way the parties then are owned by people. Therefore, you must be subservient to these owners. They are not institutions so that can just be that can midwife the democratic process. And so the leaders who get replaced and who get appointed, the only thing you need is loyalty to the owner of the party, and then you can get the ticket of the party. And then you can be elected to parliament. So the people don't have an opportunity to replace their leaders. So the architecture whereby legislators do not have a time limit then becomes abused to the extent that the owners of these parties can keep on recycling this and that and that. You have got people who have been nominated 3 times to parliament, the women and what have you. So yet the nomination was supposed to provide a platform for somebody to be exposed within that constituency so that they can be able to go out and maybe look for votes and stuff. So we really need to look at the question of the architecture, the policy framework, the legal framework for political parties. Then we might now end up with a situation whereby once we democratize political parties, by making it easy for very few people to form a political party and run, then a question of leaders staying on in perpetuity will not arise. So we'll be able to replace leaders based on their performance. The police ruling is clearly the judgment on the police that they cannot, it was a ruling that they cannot use various tools against unarmed demonstrators, epitomizes the problem we have with the rule of law in this country. There's no way you can enforce the law by breaking the law. And the Inspector General of Police, who has command responsibility over the police, should personally be held accountable for the violation of this law. So they need to have him in contempt, and I think from listening to the group, when I get back to the Senate, although we are still busy with addressing the motion on the state of the nation, after that I'll be constrained to move a motion to have the Inspector of the Police cited and declared incompetent to hold office for both for that violation of the law and also for the command responsibility for the killings and the violence we saw on the streets. The people cannot just go scot-free. We also need to have a judicial a commission of inquiry into those killings, into that violence that was visited on kids who are virtually walking. I hope you don't mind me calling you kids because you're the age of my kids, who are virtually walking on the streets with smartphones and making legitimate demands. They were in no way subverting the nation. Even the president who called them prisoners, he had no reason. And if you look at the fires, I was in parliament. I saw what happened. I saw the people coming. They were peaceful. And even the rushing of the parliamentary structures was a reaction to the snipers who are shooting. That's when I saw people surge forward. And why don't we have any pictures of anybody touching anything? Why didn't the demonstrators burn parliament, which was easier to burn than setting fire on the officers of the police? Who started the fires? Why don't we have pictures of people breaking the furniture in parliament? Why is furniture broken even in the upper floors of parliament? That's the areas that are damaged. Which demonstrator got there to damage those parts? Who damaged parliament? It was not the demonstrators. Who banned these things? It was not demonstrators. Nobody had I didn't see anybody with a bottle of cocktail. Neither has anybody pointed a mocktail, a bottle of cocktail. So we must get down and hold the police and the commanders up to the president who gave orders to shoot and kill, accountable for what happened. And these are crimes against humanity. Article 143 of the Constitution does not protect the president from prosecution for crimes against humanity, and I hope the Law Society will take it up and prosecute the president of Kenya for crimes against humanity. You don't cut down peaceful protesters with bullets. So people with command responsibility are known. The individual executors on the ground may not be known, but people with command responsibility are known. And by holding them accountable and by squeezing them, we can wring out the perpetrators who pulled the triggers. The kind of tear gas we are using now is not the tear gas we saw. I was personally arrested 28 times in demos and prosecuted, or I was acquitted in all. 28 times. There's no police station in Nairobi that I've never slept on the floor. And I've always slept on the floor and cleaned the toilets. And when I leave, the toilets are cleaner than when I went there. But never did I see tear gas that explodes. I've never seen that. What kind of weapons are these? Where did they come from? Do we have legislation approving or setting out the kind of weapons that can be used on the public? We have no registration on that water cannon, so that water is colored. What chemicals are there? Are they carcinogenic? And given the pressure with which they hit somebody, do they poison that person? So there's a lot of to be done in legislation, and what has happened really opens our eyes. And me, when I get back to the Senate, I want to do quite a bit of legislation to achieve that. And because I'm talking legislation, allow me to answer the question on obstetric violence and what have you. It is true that our maternity wards are in a mess. Pregnancy